In this video, I want to show you 5 awesome reasons why you need to start using custom post types in your WordPress build. Now, if you don't know what a post type is, or let alone a custom one, that's not a problem. We will go over that in this video, and then we'll move on to the advantages, which go from higher organization to SEO strategy down the line. So this video really is one to stick with until the end, so you can check all of those advantages out. But also following this video, I'll be doing some on how to use custom post types. I've already got one on my channel, which is about how to use custom post types and loop templates to make a testimonial carousel. Now, that is actually one of the advantages that we will talk about. But if you want to check out that video, I have a look on the channel, or it's somewhere around here, but I'm sure you'll find that really useful. In that video, we actually go in depth on how to create a custom post type and then loop template it. So that really is one to watch for a more in-depth tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to keep this really quite quick, but first of all, let's look at what a post type is and then what a custom post type is. So we understand that WordPress out of the box, even if you're a newbie, it has 2 post types straight out of the gate. We have the blog posts, which you know has stuff like a title and some text, and then these are the fields that you can fill in. Then we have the author and featured image, and we also know that it's structured, or organized by categories and tags. So that's the taxonomy that you would use to organize the different items in the post type. So we know that that's there with WordPress straight out of the gate. We also know that we have pages. Now, that's what people would usually use to make all of these items here that I'm floating over. Oh, let's go back, because that's the dead page. All right, so we would usually have pages with which we would make these. Now, if we look at the dashboard of WordPress, we can have a look at what that looks like, which is how you look at something. We've got posts here, and we have this post list, and that's all really fantastic. And then we have pages, and we would look at that list here. Now, if you install WooCommerce, you actually get a 3rd post type straight out of the gate, which is, well, not straight out of the gate after you've installed WooCommerce, but it's a standard post type that we're quite familiar with. And when we look at these, we've got products, pages, and posts. We can start to understand what a post type is. It's a type of information that you have on your site, and it has its own unique purpose and its own unique intention and functionality. And in order to make that functionality work or optimal, it has 2 things. It has a group of fields that are unique to it, and it has a structure or a way to organize it that is also unique to it. So let's have a look at that. First of all, on the product, because this makes sense. We have the product name, which is like a post title or a page title. That's quite standard. Then we have the product description. And whilst we might think that's like the text area on a blog post or a page, we then have the short description. So that's unique to this post type. Obviously, unique to this post type is price fields. And then it goes really complicated. Now let's look at how we organize the different items in this post type. Well, okay, so we've got product categories. So we can make up categories, and we can make child categories, and we can put the different items in those. And then also we can randomly tag up different items in this post type with tags. And so that's another way to, one, organize the items in the post type, but also that's another way to filter them on the front in dynamic post grids or carousels. Very useful. Okay. Popping along to look at the pages, we've got typical fields. We've got a group of fields. We've got title, the actual page content, featured image. Those are the fields. But then we've got a different structure of organization. It's not categories, it's not tags, it's more of a parent-child relationship, and you'd set that here. So that's how you would organize different items in that post type. And again, that's how you would organize their display on the front end. So you might apply a template to the children of bridal beauty AI images. And so every page that is a child of this would have that template. Okay, so again, we know that also with posts, we have a group of fields. So we have the title, the actual post text, we have author, and featured image. But then we have categories. These aren't product categories and they're not product tags, but these are the ways that we organize the different items in the post type, and also again how we apply templates. So any blog post in the blog category would have this template, and we can also filter those on the front in dynamic post grids or carousels or with menus. Okay, so that's what a post type is. It's a type of information, okay, that's on your site. It's not a category, it's a type of information. It has its own purpose, own intention, own functionality, and then with that, it has its own field set or group of fields and its own method of organization or taxonomies. So what is a custom post type? Okay, well, for that, we'll jump back to the front of this. If we're looking at a sitemap, we're getting ready to build a website, and we're looking at a sitemap, and we know we've got all of these pages, and we're going to have a blog because that's a great idea. Well, if we're looking at these, how can we group these in a way that's separate to the others? We already know that out of these, the blog is going to contain many different items in that post type. It's going to be a blog post type, and it's going to have lots of different items all organized in categories and tags. Great. Can we look at the rest of these pages and see anything that jumps out as its own unique group? Can you see any at all? Any coming to mind? Well, that's correct. Okay, so the services. We know that the service pages are going to be unique to themselves in regard to all of these other pages. They're going to have things that are in common with each other, but not with anything else. Much like a group of products is going to have prices and short description, long description, it's like that. The service pages are going to have fields and structure that are unique to themselves as a group. I'll show you. We have price from, max booking, appointment time, booking link. These are fields that you will only really find, or ideally only find, on these pages and not on any of the others. And of course, we might further differentiate these. So hair might be ladies' hair, gents' hair. And so, it could sort of cascade down in that sort of organization. But they would all have these fields, and then we would need that organizational structure. Okay, so looking at the navigation, can we see anything else that might have many items that need to be organized and would have their own set of fields? Any at all? I'm giving you all the answers. Testimonials. Okay. We have lots of different testimonials. That's great. Now we can start to understand that they would have their own fields. We would have possibly the testimonial headline, so a bit of a quote that comes out of the main review. We have the review itself. We might have an image. We might have the name of the reviewer. And then, of course, we have the star rating. That's quite important for testimonials. So this type of information, all of these elements can be grouped into items that have similar fields. They are only similar to each other, not to anything else. And so it makes sense for that to be a custom post type. Furthermore, we have different, organizations. So these testimonials are actually organized, as I would recommend you do on your own sites, into the services that are offered. So if somebody is thinking about using the nails service, they might want to have a look at nails only testimonials. Again, I'd recommend you do that. And so they can filter. So this has its own organizational structure and taxonomy unique to it. So this dynamic grid here is only filtering for the nails testimonials taxonomy. So when we can understand what a post type is, and then we're also able to further look at a website's sitemap or navigation and identify different groups, different types of information that would have their own field sets and their own taxonomies and organizational structures, we can start to think of what a custom post type is and what we might want to turn into one. So if you look at the dashboard here, we have services, we have testimonials, we have products, pages, and posts. Services are a custom post type created to differentiate that group of information objects, whatever you might want to call them. Testimonials much the same. Posts we use for blogs and the articles, and then pages are for those straggler pages such as about and contact, maybe even FAQs, but I would say that it's a good idea to turn those into custom post types also, personally. And so if we were doing something like creating events, we would think that's a group that we can identify in our information structure. Let's make that a custom post type. And so what you do is you create that custom post type in your WordPress dashboard using a plugin. But again, look at my testimonial carousel video to see how to do that. I take you through the entire process. So that is what a post type and a custom post type is, and that's also partly why you would want to use them. And that does bring us on to the advantage number one, which is it's a higher level of organization throughout your site that goes beyond categories or taxonomies. Now, I'll try and explain how it can get a bit muddled if you're not using custom post types, but I know that I've done it. I know lots of people have done it. Say, for example, without putting an events plugin on the site, especially as they're premium and all of that kind of stuff, a lot of people might want some events on their pages. And the natural thing to do is think, okay, all right, events are going to have categories. That might be the months. So it might be that you would have a lead category, a top category, parent category even, of events. And then within those, and that would be the parent of January, February, March, April, May. And I've done that. I've put sites together and it's worked quite well, to be honest. You can assign your own templates to blog posts of that category and the children of that. And then you can further tag for music or comedy and, similar. So you are able to get around it and use the available post type, but differentiating with categories to be able to make up a whole different set of information types called events. And you can even filter them and put them into dynamic grids on the front end, or have some sort of a menu item that is just set to the events category, and then it would bring up the archive page, and you can go some way towards your goal using that. However, it makes much more sense to simply place them in their own custom post type. So you would have your testimonials, your products, your services, and then you would have your events. It's just a much cleaner way than having one list with muddled categories and tags and taxonomies. It gets complicated, and eventually it does start to trip up your site, especially because you might be able to really differentiate between different posts, between your blog posts and your event posts on the back end. That's actually quite easy to do. But when you are trying to dynamically bring in a grid of posts and you want to just focus on the events or a particular tag, it does get a bit more complicated when you are using widgets on the front end. You can't go so deep if you're having to first select an events category, and then you might not be able to select things like the children of, and it might not go that deep in taxonomies. So it's much better from an organizational standpoint to have a completely separate custom post type for every information type. And from there, you have it more highly organized in the dashboard, all the way through to templating, and then all the way through to filtering into dynamic grids and carousels and what have you. Okay, so the second advantage of using custom post types is it's very similar to number one, which is, you get a high level of organization that goes beyond taxonomies. Now that has its own advantages all the way from the dashboard to filtering and actually to scaling up your site without too much bother. But the second advantage is more about management. Now, this comes directly from the organization. So if we take something like testimonials, okay? So testimonials, we've made a testimonials page, and what we might do is we would either build out this grid formation quite manually and add to them. Now, that's usually what people would do. If we look at the homepage of this demo site, to look at the homepage of this demo site, we actually have a testimonial carousel. Now, I would not be the only person who has tried loads of different widgets to find a testimonial carousel. And when you do so, you have to input all of the data separately into the actual widget. So you would start up the widget, and then you would create an item within it, and you would add the headline if it allows you to. You'd add the reviewer name, the text. If you can, you'd add an image. and then the rating, and then you would go to the next item and you would add that. Now, you might be very clever and make that a global widget in Elementor, which is the best thing to do, or you might actually put the testimonial carousel into a template which you add to different parts of the site. That again is another way to do it. And so if you wanted to add a testimonial or edit one, you would go into that global widget, you would go into that, either that global widget or that template, and you would alter it. But you'd have to go into the widget to start fiddling around with it. Now, if you edited a testimonial in your global widgets carousel, you still might need to pop up to your testimonials page and then go along and find that one that you've added in and edit here also. Now, this is where we come to the real advantages of the management that comes from the organization of custom post types. Were you with me on that one? If we pop back to the dashboard and we go to testimonials, it's all in the dashboard. This is true easy management. Everything that we need is in the dashboard. I just pop along to either quick edit, or I can edit up the actual item. Oh my god, like so amazing. I can delete it, I can edit it, I can do whatever I need to do, and it will dynamically add to the testimonial carousels and also to something like the testimonial page. Like this, it would change it all across the site, and my management of that information is here. My management of that content, is here. Same as if I was using that for team profiles or anything else. I would simply operate all of the content in my WordPress dashboard, and it dynamically populates the site. That is a higher level of management that comes from that higher level of organization. Okay, so the third reason why custom post types really are a must in your website comes from the advancements that we're having at the moment with page builders such as Elementor, or I'm also using breakdowns at the moment. And it really comes because you can add dynamic content into things like grids or carousels and basically loop templates. This opens up a huge amount of opportunities, and people often use it for things like single post templates or single page templates, and that's a really good way to use it. But I don't think people have really cottoned on yet to the power that you have in creating a custom post type and using a loop template. So if we look at testimonials again, it's the example I have for you, but this could be the same with team profiles or any other sort of things that you feel like would be good on your site. But what we have here is a list of dashboard managed testimonials. And then because of the power of loop templates, we're able to display them on this page, in this instance, in this carousel. Now, I mentioned before that we have testimonial widgets, and we've always had to try and bend them to our will to make them look how we would want them to look. But we often can't get the design that we want. They often look quite typical or cliche even. We all understand, we can usually look at a testimonial carousel and know which widget it is, for example. But when you have a loop template at your fingertips, you're able to design it completely to suit your site. You can put all of the information there that you feel is important and completely design the layout. But it's better than that, though, is that you can actually use the same dynamic list, make a different template, and make something like this. This is just a simple way to get some social proof in a way that isn't so imposing. So again, this is using a loop template. It's using the same list of content, but we're just pulling in the elements that we feel are most important. Again, up here, this is one of my favorites. It's subtle, it's very simple, and when it catches somebody's eye, they just get the testimonial carousel headings and the ratings. And again, it's all pulling dynamically from this list here, very highly managed. I'll pop to one more thing, is that again, we have this in a loop grid. This wasn't built manually with different grids and manually added in. This is simply a loop grid with a loop template. And even better, it's got a taxonomy filter, which is very functional. But again, this feature is pulling from this list of testimonials. So again, we've got that high level of organization through to awesome content management. But then the dynamic possibilities of displaying on the site, they're effortless. You can design completely to your own brand. You don't have to fight with widgets and bend them to your will. You can really engage with that designer within. and start thinking outside the box with how you want to display different bits of information. Reason number 4 why you really need to start using custom post types is all to do with your SEO and your ranking. Now, there's a lot of power to be had in your 2024 rankings if you're using custom post types effectively, and I will show you why. If we pop along again to my demo site, so click along here. When we look at these pages as humans, we understand what sort of content is on these pages. We know that if we go here, we're going to find reviews. If we go into blog, we're going to find articles, information, sort of written information, probably answering questions like, how do I make my hair wonderful for my wedding, and all of those sort of things. And then services, we know that this is where we're going to find the services. We just understand that instinctively. Much like when we put alt tags on images, we need to help Google make that differentiation, and the way that we do that is by essentially putting it in the code so that it can just simply read it. So if we have a look at a Google search, so how to curl your hair, the first ranked position here is good housekeeping, and if we open that up, we'll see that it's an article. Okay, so we know that Google is thinking an article is a good way to answer this question. Okay, how to curl your hair. And now the bread and butter of lots of SEO companies or services is to optimize the on-page SEO, the heading structure in this article. So we'll have an H1 heading here. This will be an H2, and then we'll have some strategic H3s. And let's have a look at the structure of this content. So we've got the headings here. So heading 1, then we've got heading 2 to 2. Then often you'd have sort of heading 3, and then we'll look at bullet lists and things like that. Now, this is really, really important. It's how Google understands what the page is about and what the structure of it is. And you need to pay a lot of attention to your heading structure. But it goes much deeper than that, actually, because what we've got here is a featured snippet. Now, it can be the case that even if you're ranking number 1, you're being beaten by another site that has a featured snippet on the top. But what we know is that Google is considering that a good answer to this question will be found in articles. Okay, so here we've got another blog, we've got another blog. Okay, the search intent for the person who wrote this question is to be educated, is to find an answer, is to perhaps read what the answer might be, get some hints and tips, and that will be found in an article. Now, as I said before, we look at these and think, okay, I know that that's where I'll find the articles, but Google doesn't know that, so what do we do? Well, if we look back on this tool and we go to structured data, it's about the schema, the structured data. And this is what you want on the back end of your article, of your blog articles. So what we've got here is the type of information that this is a news article. And then we've got all of these different fields that we would fill in. So essentially with our schema structure, with our structured data, we are telling Google what type of page this is. We are telling it what the headline is, when it was published, so is it still relevant? And then we would have something like the article body. Now, there are different fields for different schema structures, data types, and I encourage you to have a look at all of those. You can go to schema.org, and what we really want to do is tell Google what types of information are on these different pages. Now, that's easier to do if you separated your post types out into different information types, isn't it? So what we want to do is make sure Google knows what pages are what type of information. Oh, I've lost it, but you know what I mean. So for that, we need to go to Rank Math. Okay, now this is it's my favorite SEO plugin. I think its free version beats a lot of premium SEO plugins. And one of its features here and in the free version is the schema structured data. So enable support for the structured data, which adds schema code in your website. That's exactly what we were just saying we need. So let's pop along to settings and see how this works. So what I'll show you in this video is the first thing we can see is we've got post types. Now in here we've got posts and the schema type is article. We could choose from all of these, but we want to choose the most relevant one. Then we've got pages and we've got that set to article, but we might find that it has something that's a bit more relevant. I leave those as that is. Services, we've got it set to services. Products, obviously we've got that set to products. WooCommerce product. Okay, so it all starts to match. Let's go to a service and we'll go into makeup, edit. Now we've got schema selected here. And if I go into edit here, we have the different fields. So we can edit the headline, the description, and then fill these out as is necessary. I will quickly show you. If we pop along to posts and articles, pop along to schema, article, and click here, and then we've got article, headline, description, and keywords, and then you would save for that post. Okay, so have a look at that. It's not going to do you any harm. This is the free version of Rank Math. To learn a bit more about schemas and structured data and everything, pop along to schema.org. You can have a look around there, and also if you go to validate, you can actually test your pages. So put in the URL and run a test and start to see what sort of results you're getting. But essentially, you just want to give yourself a fighting chance in your structured data and start pushing forward for those snippets. Obviously, you're going to get more functionality with Rank Math Pro. And so I do encourage you to have a look at all of that and start looking into that side of things. But I hope you can see that using Rank Math and custom post types is going to start bringing you into that world a bit where you can start to experiment and then go from there. Now, a fifth advantage to custom post types is that if you're able to build your own loop templates and carousels and grids, then you don't need so many plugins on your website. It was necessary before that we would have to use something like testimonial widgets or carousels, and to get the sort of design that we need or the functionality that we need, we might have to install a whole new sort of premium add-ons for Elementor or essential add-ons for Elementor and then essential add-ons for Elementor Pro just to get something that made our website what we wanted it to be. But if we have all of that power of loop templates, and then we've got grids and carousels and everything else that we have, we can really start to streamline how many plugins we have on our WordPress website. It means fewer conflicts, it means fewer complications, and ultimately less cost if we only have to pay for something like Elementor Pro and then start bringing in things like custom post types and custom fields and start to really utilize those. Now, as a little bonus advantage that I just have to share, as all of the content is managed in the WordPress dashboard, see point number 2. The advantage of that is that clients don't really need to go into the Elementor or other page builder editor. They don't need to go into a testimonial carousel to amend or add a testimonial. They don't need to go into the editor interface to change a team profile or even to go in and change anything on a blog post. There's no need for them to go anywhere other than the post edit pages on your custom post types. Because we all know that if they go to the editor, they're going to start changing things. They're going to make text bigger, change colors, make something else pop, and eventually there's no visual hierarchy, and the website is not an item you can have in your portfolio. I've lost portfolio item websites because the client has started to become a designer. I love how Elementor and page builders empower clients to manage their own site, but unfortunately there's no real way to stop them changing things that they shouldn't change and finding out how to do gradients. So I would encourage you, a sixth reason why you should start implementing custom post types. Again, see point number 2, is that all of the content is managed in the dashboard, and that is the only place that the client needs to go in order to manage content on their site. And I'd really encourage you to explore that as well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped. Keep an eye out for the other custom post type videos that are coming out very, very soon. And as I said earlier, there is one already on my channel if you fancy making a testimonial carousel, much like you saw, or exactly like you saw on this video. Thanks.